Hello, students, and welcome to week 4. This is a quick overview of what's expected this week. Of course, we will go into each assignment in way more detail in our live session, but this just gives you a brief overview of each of the assignments. So you're going to finish your reading for the course by reading chapters 6 and 7, which will help with one of your final projects this week. You're then going to look in this week 4 content. What I really want you to keep an eye out for is this cooking lesson idea, this project-based learning, because you are going to do a problem or project-based learning activity this week. I also want you to make sure that you watch this Dan Meyer math class needs a makeover, because you'll need that for your second assignment due this week. Okay, so let's jump into the first discussion, and this is interdisciplinary connections. So you're going to read in the book about project-based learning, problem-based learning, and one of your assignments this week is to create a lesson that has 3 math activities and either a PE or a history social studies activity. So when you think through this, I always like to start with the history or the PE and then to see how the math can support that. But they need to be together in one focused lesson. It can't be like, oh, I'm going to do these 3 math problems and we're going to go outside and play basketball. They have to be interdisciplinary, where the math supports the PE or history supports the math. So when you are doing your reading, I will show you, I believe it's here. Maybe it's in the readings. Give me a second. Yeah. So in your readings, you'll see the history science framework and the PE framework that can help you start to brainstorm. You really take some time on this discussion, brainstorm ideas for like a project you can do, and take some time to read what your colleagues say, because you're going to get some ideas from them that you can use on your final project. So that's the first discussion board due Thursday night, and just brainstorm ideas. What 2 standards, what math standard where will you use? Are you going to use a history or a PE? And how might you merge those together into a project for kids to do? And this is where your peers get to jump in and provide you some ideas as well. So the next discussion is you're really just going to post your learning progression that you did with your groups. And I will ask that each group post it themselves, not just one per group. And we might get multiple, so make sure you're not responding to multiple. When you're responding to your peers, make sure you're responding to a different group each time. But I would like you to post your link and then address what you learned about how math knowledge is developed and how the 5 key instructional practices, those math centers, the problem-based learning, and those 5 practices help you understand, the CRA model. Now, what's tricky or different about this discussion board is we are asking you to review research articles provided on English language learners and students with disabilities in math. So there isn't as much, for the actual post, you're just going to write your link in a couple sentences about what you learned about the progressions and in the 5 key practices. But most of your grade is going to be based on how you reply to your peers, because you're going to look up information on UDL and language learners, and you're going to highlight in the projects of your peers how they addressed or how they created activities that address those needs. And you're going to make sure you put at least 1 citation and reference for each response to peers. So let me say that again, because a lot of students make mistakes on that. So your responses to peers, each one for this discussion board, make sure you have at least 1 citation and 1 reference to each of the groups that you respond to. Okay, so those are your 2 discussions for the week. We'll go over those during our live session as well. And then these are the instructions for your live interactive lesson. You'll notice that I would jump in right away to some of these samples first. It's going to give you an idea about what's expected. And this is kind of this is Dr. Dickinson, and this is a great, above and beyond kind of an example. But it shows, The standards that are going to be met, you'll see that there's social studies met with here and as well as math. And there's a success criteria so students know what's expected of them. And they're going to be going on a camping trip. And there's some writing. They're using Google Maps to determine the distance that they're going to be traveling. When you create your lesson, you can create it as something like that you would be presenting, or you can even create Google Slides where you leave empty boxes for students to later go in and fill the information, and maybe that's how they engage in the lesson. So you'll see there's math in the tent design, building your tent. There's a menu, camp menu, food costs. So you can see that there's math and the social studies as far as where they're going. That's how those two are connected. And you're going to create your own. And it's just, this is your chance to be really creative and how you use math with PE or how you use math with social studies. So you'll make sure these are the details you want to make sure you know. You identify the content standards, and there's a minimum of 3 math skills that you're having students do, and there's 1 PE or 1 history social studies that students are doing. Okay. And that should cover it. I will go over this on our live session as well. The last one is in relation. I told you to watch that video by Dan Meyer, The Classroom Needs a Makeover. So this is a chance for you to create kind of like, what is your ideal math classroom, and what is your idea? If you could be your perfect math teacher, what would this look like? And it's going to be based on some resources that are shared here as well. So consider this in 2 chunks, okay? It's kind of this first chunk about after watching the video, The Class Needs a Makeover. You're going to describe what you see the teacher in your ideal math classroom that you're teaching. What do you see you're doing? What do you see the students doing? How do you see technology and books being used? And kind of what is the structure of all of that? Okay, so you're going to start with that. Think of that as your one big bucket. And your next big bucket is you're going to come down here and explore these teacher performance expectations, good to know for your credential, and these NCTM principles and standards. So your second bucket is, when you have this vision of what the teachers, what the students, what technology, now how does this align? Okay, so you're going to address which standard and principles by NCTM you need to continue to grow as a teacher. So you'll want to read these principles, pick one and say, wow, this is an area where I really want to get good at. In addition, you're going to go to your teacher performance expectations and reflect where you've made the most growth after having been in this class. So 2 buckets, it's the Dan Meyer stuff in your vision of a classroom, what you see students doing, what you see yourself doing, and how books and technology and like, what is that ideal classroom? Then the other kind of bucket is NCTM. What do you feel that you what do you feel that you could work on to be better aligned with these principles? And again, they're down here in these links. And then the last one is your teacher performance expectations. Where'd you make the most growth on those during this course? Now, here's the fun part. During this project, this can be a paper. This does say 5 pages, but it does not have to be that long. A couple pages would suffice. But I know a lot of students really enjoy creating like Google Slides. So they'll make like a Google Slides of a slide of what the teacher's doing, a slide of what the student's doing, and then a slide of how technology and books are used, then a slide for NCTM, and then a slide for the TPEs. So it's up to you. I've also seen some great infographics. So if you're feeling a little creative, you can go to something like Canva or PictoChart or Google Drawing and kind of consider those questions and design a fun infographic, and consider that infographic a great thing to say present at an interview or to share in a portfolio reflection as a growth in your growth as a teacher. So that is that's an overview of the week, and I will see you for our live session where I will go into a lot more detail on all of these assignments. Thank you.